Oh, good evening. Welcome everybody. Just shining up my little my little friend here. Taking him everywhere I go. Just he's fresh out of the Bastille. He's fresh out of the Greek Bastille, and he's come home with Buddy. And Buddy's gonna treat him well. Buddy took him to a hockey game the other night. We had some beers down by the ice. I was right by the glass. He saw all the big hits. I had a few Stellas. It was a good time. And the Stellas were like, I think they were like 16.95 at the. I probably shouldn't mention this. Melissa, good to see you, D. I hope you're tuning in. Thanks for tuning in every week to this one of our top viewers here on The Ghost and the Goat and Three Dudes Brews. And yeah, we're not on Get Haunted at the moment. I hope at some point we get on there. But you can see us on the Van Down by the Riv on Facebook, on my Facebook, on the YouTube channel, a Van Down by the Riv podcasts, on Twitch, and hopefully Get Haunted fixes this problem, as they always do, and puts my beautiful face up. If not, they're able to share it. Guys, thank you for everything you do and you're doing. I really appreciate it. So as I said, so I'm gonna, as I didn't say, my name's Buddy Thayer. I'm the paranormal investigator. Take me by the hand, walk with me into a lovely world of tonight's gonna be like ghosty stuff and a little bit of history, and maybe I can hear like the dog barking, my 80-pound chocolate lab. She's kind of in heat. I think almost maybe she's 2. She's about to get, finitoed with her lady parts. But next month she's due. And right now she's going through what might be heat. She's humping almost everything in sight. So it's a little awkward around the house. Hoping that she's not going to go into heat. Maybe, and if she does, I'll have to postpone the surgery yet again. So we'll see what happens. But in my own life here, my Boston Red Sox, for one, they're putting a smile on my face. Before I talk about sports, I'm going to talk about what we do. What another thing that puts a smile on my face is delicious craft beers, and our efforts at Three Dudes Brews to not only drink fantastic craft beer. I'm not drinking tonight. I have a nice, lovely water. Not drinking during the week, dude. I'm just trying to stay honest. And like promote not only like this delicious craft beer and drink this delicious craft beer, but use this wonderful beer and beer community to help promote and promote charities and our efforts to raise funds for these charities. So that was kind of a long way around. So our first Three Dudes Brews, this is us. We do the monthly vodcast. We just filmed the episode 8 at Angletree in Attleboro, Massachusetts. Attleboro. If you're from outside the New England area and you're trying to look it up on a map, it's Attleboro pronounced, but it actually was North Attleboro, but it's Attleboro. If you're from this area, you know what I'm talking about. Where I captured what's known as the Top Cock. We have a on-show drinking competition with the 4 of us. Not, of course I would win if it was a drinking competition. It's a tasting competition. We're able to identify 4 of the beers that they pour. These brewers, they don't make it easy for us. They pour very similar styles, similar colors, like 2 IPAs next to each other, or 2, like in this case, 2 non-IPAs that look like 2 Pilsners, which is even more weird. A stout and a porter that was very dark. So it was a good time. I drank a few beers and I won the Top Cock. Let's say, check out episode 8. We're going to crack that at the beginning of March. You can see us live, of course, next week on the last call. I want to say the last stand, like it's like a Cowboys and Indian movie. But anyway, we're doing a charity. Three Dudes Brews is the month of March. Well, right now the tickets are on sale. If you go on Eventbrite.com, you can find it. It's called the Mark Ambrose Bingo. So this is. You'll see this at the 24 participating breweries and brew pubs around Rhode Island and southern Massachusetts. This is the pamphlet. This is the VR code. This is the charity. You can't see that. That's the Ronald McDonald House of Providence. Lovely organization. This is the bingo card. I'll show it to you. So you go on Eventbrite. You buy a card for you buy a ticket. For every ticket you buy, you get another bingo card, another Mark Ambrose bingo card. I randomize them, and I do up a new card with all these locations, which are all around Rhode Island. There's 2 in Mass. Hold on. Angletree. The one we filmed at, that's in Attleboro, and Skyrock. Haven't been there yet. That's in Attleboro. And that's about it. The rest of them. Oh, and Burgundian. That's like a more of a restaurant brew pub, and that's in Attleboro, downtown Attleboro. The rest of them can be found in and around the lovely state of Rhode Island. So the thing is, we're going to sell tickets throughout February. I'm probably going to extend it into March, and starting March 1st, bingo is going to go live, ladies and gentlemen. And if you have a bingo ticket, it would behoove you to follow Three Dudes Brews on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel, subscribe, follow, what is it? Subscribe. We're on the gram. Follow us on the gram. The more subscriptions we have, the more we can stream on different networks, yada, yada, all that good stuff. Build followers, build fans, build, an appreciation as we have for craft beer. So, Jesus, long story short, buddy. So you can go to all these places, and the deal, so let's say I'm going to go to Crooked Current tonight. So I heard on Three Dudes Brews on the Facebook page that the Seekonk River runs brown like a stout beer. I'm like, oh, that's Pawtucket. Maybe is it Smug? Is it Smug Brewing, or is it the Guild the Bucket, or is it going to be at Crooked Current, or maybe there's like smallest brewery in the state? Well, I know because I'm a beer guy in Rhode Island that the smallest brewery in the state is at Crooked Current. I'm going to go to Crooked Current, and I got to get a selfie with Mark. Oh, there's Mark. I'm going to get it. Hey, there's Mark right there. This is Mark Ambrose. He's a lovely guy. He's doing our fundraiser with us, and get a selfie. And that's Nicole. She's the owner of the smallest brewery in the state of Rhode Island. And that's Michelle. She's a lovely lady too. And together they sling this amazing beer that they make there at this amazing brewery, the only female-owned brewery in all of Rhode Island. Anyway, long story. They were actually Three Dudes Brews' first episode. Long story short, get a selfie with Mark. Make sure you can see, like, oh look, there's Crooked's T-shirt. Oh look, there's Nicole, Crooked's owner. Oh look, there's Crooked's Keg where they make lovely beer and fermenters. I know they're at Crooked, so that will be used. Mark will also be using a logbook to keep a record for all of his selfies. So if you say, hey, I have the selfie with Mark at at the Guild Warren, and Mark's like, I don't have that in my log one until I recognize that from like 6 months ago. You're using an old selfie, because Mark's known for his selfies. Mark's known to go around to these breweries. This is how this was born. He goes to these breweries and he takes selfies with people at these breweries. And he's like, it's like Where's Waldo? It's like you got to kind of guess where Mark's going to be every weekend, because he goes to like 12 different breweries and he never tells anybody where he's going. He just goes. And he's always a good time. When you find him, it's like finding a leprechaun. You always get a pot of gold with Mark Ambrose. So we're doing this thing with Mark Ambrose. Find Mark Ambrose. The first person to message Three Dudes Brews, whether it be Facebook or www.threedudesbrews.com. Check that out for all tips, hints, infos, and claim your bingo by showing us a straight bingo. So it's going to be straight down, straight up and down, left and right, no diagonals, no free beers, guys. 5 bingos, 5. Okay. So send us your 5 pictures and your winning bingo card, and as soon as we confirm it, we'll claim you the bingo winner, and you will split the pot 50-50. Ticket sales right now are up to $200. I'm hoping they go up to $5,000. I hope we give away $5,000. I hope we raise $10,000. But anyway, tickets are on sale. Bingo goes live March the 1st. In collaboration, kind of not really in collaboration with, but we're doing it. It's Rhode Island Craft Beer Month, and it's also the Big Labruski, which you can find at Rhode-IslandFoodFights.com. I think they were just Rhode Island Food Fights at Eventbrite. You buy a $40 pass, and you essentially get a free beer, a free coupon to get a free beer from the 25 or so different participating breweries, which a lot of them are on the Mark Ambrose Bingo. So check all that stuff out. It's lots of good people, lots of good beer, lots of good money raised for lots of good people. Another quick charity I'm doing 2 other charities. This later on this year in April, I'm getting together with Brian Danzero and Sarah. Oh, I have a newer. I'm sorry, Sarah. I'm sorry, Brian. I have a newer photo. But anyway, this is psychic readings with Brian and Sarah. They are helping me to raise money for one of the best museums in all the land. Seriously, folks, if you're from Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Connecticut, get here. It's called the Varnum Memorial Armory. It's at 6 Main Street, East Greenwich, Rhode Island. It is by far, one of the best military museums. If not in New England, in the entire United, I would say it rivals the Smithsonian, but only comes in second because of like sheer size. There's just like they can only stuff so much goodness into this building. It's an organization that's maintained by its members, the memberships of the Varnum Continentals. They're all volunteers, including myself. I volunteer. I've done docent stuff there, and I've investigated there a few times. But that's like my thing there, and I've helped them raise money in the past. So it's like a great charity organization. They help to save history. They conserve like historical uniforms and documents and letters and pieces of the past and treasure it for all generations. So I'm doing this first event. This is on April 5th. This Saturday. Tickets are on sale on Eventbrite. The other one I had a VR code. I just haven't loaded it yet. And then if you missed that one or if you said, hey, that was awesome, I want to do this again, buddy, bam. May the 24th, I'm doing it once again with the lovely and incredibly talented Christina Marie. Christina Marie has been on the show about 3 or 4 times doing tarot card readings. She's absolutely amazing. Check it out. Buy tickets. Go to the show. I honestly, in the tarot cards that she's done, I've yet to see people leave disappointed. Speaking of not being disappointed, just got to throw this out there, right? Alex Bregman is on the lineup for the Boston Red Sox for the upcoming 2025 season. Last year, I went into the we were going through the season. When the season started last year, I didn't have a lot of hopes. The Red Sox looked kind of not so great. They ended up putting up some effort, and like after a abysmal April, they started winning a few games in May, and then June they turned it up and they started winning games and going in the All-Star break. It's like, oh, these guys might win a wild card. We might do something. And July kind of faded out, and their late spring umph kind of went with it, and by September, my hopes were again diminished completely. I ended up going to the last game of the season. I took a few clients up to Fenway Park. I work at a group home for adults with mental illness, so that was a trip in itself. But it was a fantastic opportunity to go to Fenway Park because the Red Sox were at that time crap, completely done. They had no chance of making the playoffs. They played in the Tampa Bay Rays, who were also sitting in the basement doing nothing, getting ready for the golf season. And it was Joe Castiglione, longtime announcer. He had a radio guy. He was retiring after like 40 plus seasons. Like every World Series Red Sox team, they were represented. Probably like 6 or 7 of them from each team came out. Just some of the best players we've ever known. Like, my clients were like, oh, I was like, oh, absolutely amazing. Jimmy Rice came, Pedro Martinez, Joe Morgan from 1980, out in a wheelchair. The guy's like 98. Going to wish this guy well. Roger Clemens, who I absolutely makes my stomach turn because he ended up being a New York skanky. He showed up, and wow, that guy is still huge. Just like it was really, really heartwarming and touching. And then we paid dirt cheap to sit behind the catcher, so that was absolutely wonderful time. But I knew that the Red Sox were trash, and I knew that they had to spend some money. Everybody around New England has been saying, "Wow, the Red Sox just need to spend some money," kind of like the Patriots. But I don't hope the same greatness for the Patriots. Go Dolphins. However, the Red Sox they're like I haven't always been a football fan, but I've always been a Red Sox fan. So just to see them win the World Series for the first time was absolutely magical. I never expected it once in my life. Forget like 3 times we've had it now. So I mean, in the success that 4 times, 3, I don't know, 3 times. Well, anything after 1 is like wow. So it's been good. Considering prior to 2004, especially 2003. Oh my God. But anyway, yeah, I just needed John Henry to come out and like do what John Henry does or what he used to do. Then they released that documentary on Netflix, and oh my god, about the 2003 and 4 seasons, ripped my heart of my chest again, put it back in, got my heart beating again, thinking about winning. Like, we need to do this, guys. And I wasn't sure if John Henry was willing to, but he did. He went out and he got us some good piece. They spent some money. So, wrong button, buddy. So the Red Sox went ahead and signed Alex Bregman. I woke up Thursday morning. Thursday's my Friday to go to work. I shut the alarm off on my phone. I take the first few minutes to look at my phone. First thing that pops up is like a message about the Red Sox. I'm like, oh no, what did they do now? And they got Alex. I was completely like, I did not after Juan Soto. I'm kind of glad we didn't grab Juan Soto. That's kind of like a lot of money that they don't have to spend. But after that whole debacle and us not grabbing free agents left and right, I wasn't sure if they were going to grab him at all. They did grab some stunning pitchers. Back to the lineup really quick in a second. Gary Crochet, he's a stud. He's 25 years old. He came from the worst team in baseball, but he has a pretty great record. Tanner Hawk, he was I don't know how to pronounce his name still, but he was pretty good last year. Bueller was last year, and then the Dodgers hit the World Series, and he was like the leading piece in the broom to sweep the Yankees. So good for him, and good for us. I like Cutter Crawford. I don't have much to say about the other two, but it's a pitching rotation that's like 4 out of 6 I can sleep with. I'm not, not that there's anything wrong with it, but I'm not that, like, I can rest my mind knowing that we're not going to like be in the gutter. And then so they had bats last year. They added a right-handed bat. Bregman is also a former Golden Glove winner. Rafael Devers is a little bit in Boston right now. There's a little bit of actually in Florida right now. There's a little bit of not unrest, but like Rafael doesn't want to give up third base. Even though last year, I don't know if anybody's a Red Sox fan that's watching, but oh my God, he was atrocious at third base. He can hit the shit out of the baseball, and he's fast, but he's not a great. He's like, my place is on the turf, dude. Your place is at the DH position where you can continue hitting the shit out of the ball and not have to be there, like, to not catch the ball in like the bottom of the 8th when the Yankees have the bases loaded. Instead of like getting a double play, you get like you allow 3 runs to score. We need to stop this madness. You just need to like give up your ego and your pride and do what's best for the best organization in the world, the Boston Red Sox, and step down to maybe the DH so they can get rid of Yoshida. I don't know. I don't know if that's gonna. I don't know. We're gonna see what's gonna happen. Ceddanne Rafaela, the guy I'm wearing the jersey for, he returns to the center field, which is really good because he sucked ass when he was subbing at shortstop for Trevor Story, who spent 2 out of a 3-year contract on the injured reserve for almost the entire season. He's really good when he's healthy. He's really good, but he hasn't been healthy very long. So hopefully his health stays through. Rafael's head shrinks a little bit. Tristan Casas was kind of like backing Rafael up. Tristan, you started hitting better too, dude. I don't know, but hopefully the Sox. This looks like, honestly, between this and the pitching rotation, and then they just been adding to their bullpen. So they just invited a veteran, Olivando. He's got a minor league contract, but they invited him to spring training, and he's got a lot of years. He's got a lot of years on the mound. Another thing that Bregman brings to the team, he's like a team leader. He's a dynamic changer in the locker room where Rafael, he's a great hitter, but he doesn't even speak English. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I don't know. Most of the players do speak English, so I don't know that they speak Spanish too. But I'm nothing against Rafael. He's a great hitter. I saw him come up out of the bucket before the Red Sox took my beloved Paw Sox out of Rhode Island and dumped them into Worcester, and they became the Woo Sox. What a weak team name! But anyway, it is a nice stadium. So that's the Red Sox. That's my hopes and dreams. Somebody said today that we might win 100 games. I don't think we're going to win 100 games. I'm not being negative. I'm being real here. I think 95, 90. I think 90 games is all right. It's better than not making the playoffs. So God willing, the Red Sox come through and do something this season. Also, in the wide world of sports and hockey, they have this like 4-team Sweden, Finland, U.S., and Canada NHL players. Only the Swedes and the Finns, they got wiped out real quick. The Canadians and well, not the Canadian, well, mostly Canadians, and French Canadian players that play in American teams are playing for Canada, and our American players are playing here. I think it was Larkin that scored a goal the other night, 2-1. We beat them on Saturday, and then they meet in Boston. Oh, they meet in Boston on Saturday evening. No, on Thursday evening, I believe, at 8 o'clock. It's got a lot of hype around here. A lot of people are like excited about it, and tickets are next level ridiculous. Like Bruins tickets are like $250. I think this is like another $100 more at least. So they make it a pretty penny up at the Garden on this one. Yeah, so that should be a good game. So tune in for that. That's all I really got for you. There's no football going on. There's football going on, but there's no real football going on. Basketball, the Celtics have won the last 8 out of 10 games. They beat the Cleveland Cavaliers. They lost to the Dallas Mavericks. They beat a ton of teams. They're still behind the Cavaliers by 5.5 games, but we're still in second place. So they're looking pretty damn good. I think they just went into the All-Star break. They're looking pretty good going into that. I think they start again on maybe Thursday. I think it's later on in the week. Go Celtics. We'll see what happens. Anything could happen. I think they're going to win it all again. Hopefully, God willing. Okay. Okay, so it's 8:23. So our guest this evening, I have an intro written. I don't want to just start like blabbering and just totally mess it up, because that kind of happens sometimes where I just try to wing it and it doesn't always wing the way I mean for it to go. So bear with me for just a second, please and thank you. My guest tonight. Sorry, there's all this music. It's awful. This evening on the Goat and the Ghost. Okay. Our guest has been involved in the paranormal field for over 20 years, the last 7 as a paranormal host at Fort Mifflin. If you don't know, Fort Mifflin is consistently ranked in the top 10 as most haunted locations in the U.S. Welcome to the show, Greg O'Brien. Hey, Greg, how you doing?
Glad to be here.
Thanks for coming on, dude. It's a pleasure. Fort Mifflin's I've never been there, but I've always it's always been on my list.
Yeah, it's a great place.
So you've been at Mifflin for 7 years. How did you get into the paranormal initially? What's your story?
Well, I mean, I've been involved with the fort for well over 20 years. I actually got
Oh
involved
wow!
paranormal with Fort Mifflin.
Oh wow!
Before I was into the paranormal, my son was in Scouts. I was, and you could spend the night at Fort Mifflin, sleepover, and this was before it was on the paranormal map. Before
Yep,
ghost hunters came and everything, and just it was unique. It was um, active. I mean, adults, we were running around chasing bodies, doing head counts on scouts, hearing voices all over the place. The place was just going nuts.
I bet.
So then that's when, after that, I got very interested in the paranormal and started doing attending anything I could about the paranormal, and
Mm-hmm.
then I got involved with the fort, doing a lot of volunteer work at the fort, and after a while I was in different paranormal groups and whatnot, but then I got invited to be the host paranormal excuse me, the host at the fort. So
That's awesome.
I've been there since.
Yeah, no, that's incredible. That's the fort's history dates back. It's 1771. Am I right?
70, 71, yeah, laid out by the British in 70, 71
And
to
then
yeah.
it ended up working against the British because the Americans held it and allowed Washington to retreat essentially into Valley Forge, and
Correct.
they blocked the British were going to use it as a supply depot. Yeah, right when they took Philly.
Yeah, I mean, the British, um, they were lined up for miles down the Delaware River with their ships.
Yep.
The Americans sunk these spikes right below the water level. They had a chain out there,
Nice.
and it held. Howe had taken Philadelphia the end of September of 1777, and these guys at the fort. It was an island back then. It was,
Yep.
and they were. Washington told them to hold out to the last extremity, and they held it for 5 weeks of
Yeah.
pure hell. I mean, the British with the ships, and then they put land batteries
Hmm.
around, and they just pounded the fort to obliviation.
Yeah.
At the height, it was 1,000 to 1,100 cannonballs an hour. They were pounding
Oh
the
man.
fort.
No, that's So I know I'm fairly familiar with like Civil War cannon fire. Like some of them exploded midair, some of them were like grape shot. Awful ways to kill each other. Like a cannonball coming off of a ship, was it explosive, or did it just like make big holes?
They had both, and then they put mortars
Oh boy.
on the ground. They had the biggest mortars that were just shooting, and um, eventually it was just basically they were just throwing everything they could in the grape shot and stuff. Because with the cannonballs, you can actually hear them coming in. The whistling.
Yep. Oh yeah.
And
Right.
yeah, and so eventually they were just loading everything they could into the cannons, and it just raining down on everybody, and they were just being, it was like big shotgun, just a
Hmm.
grape shot. We have buckets of the grape shots that have been recovered, and
Wow, that's
um,
incredible.
and then they were, you name it, they were just pounding the hell out of them.
Oh, I bet after all that fire for all those months, that 5 month siege essentially. Now, I'm familiar with fort def. I learned this about fort defenses. When we have a fort here in Rhode Island called Fort Adams. It's in Newport. Actually, one of the largest forts in North America. But they have these tunnels that go underneath, and they're like there'd be a guy under there, and the guy is on guard duty. I'm like, what? They got a guy doing guard duty in a tunnel, like all the way under this fort? Like that's like one of the most popular ways to attack a fort back in those days was to tunnel underneath the fort, which blew my mind like completely to even think about that. But was that a thing at Fort Mifflin? Was that something that was tried?
No, because at the time of the siege, it was an island.
Oh, all
And
right,
it
yeah,
was
that's right,
and
yeah.
it was called Mud Island, and so most of the land would be unacceptable, during high tide and not whatnot.
Hmm.
So they just they wouldn't be able to um, tunnel in. But when during the Civil War, it became a military prison.
Right,
Um,
right.
and it held Union, Confederate, and political prisoners. And there was an attempt escape by tunneling out.
Oh wow,
So
that's pretty
yeah,
cool. I think I read that Fort Mifflin. There was a guy there that was, yeah. So he wrote to Lincoln to be pardoned. I think he was a Union soldier,
Union, yeah.
and they put him on trial, and then he was found guilty, and then they brought him back to Mifflin. And they hung him right on the grounds there.
You're
That
right,
yeah.
William Howe. Yeah,
Oh
he was
wow.
hung in August of 1864. Yeah, he was a war hero. I mean,
Really.
Battle of Fredericksburg. He picked up dropped the American flag that went down. He picked it up and
Mm,
ran. Survived the Battle of Fredericksburg.
that's
But
incredible.
then he got sick, basically dysentery. I mean,
Yeah, of course.
and decided he wasn't going to report to a field hospital.
Oh,
So he walked from Fredericksburg, Virginia, to his house up in Bucks County, Pennsylvania,
oh
Perky
boy.
Openville, and tried to get better. But after so many months, they declared him as AWOL, and they sent some troops up to round him up. And a shot rang out. One of the marshals that was sent was shot and killed, and then he was
Jesus.
captured, and he was sent to Fort Mifflin, and then yeah, then he was sent over to Eastern State Penitentiary.
Oh, right,
Uh,
right, right. That's right.
yeah,
Right.
and then
Yeah,
tried and convicted of
must be
murder and
haunted.
desertion. And yeah, he wrote Lincoln multiple letters about it being pardoned.
Hmm.
And yeah, then he was brought back to Fort Mifflin, and then he was hung. And it was a public hanging. They sold tickets.
Oh boy.
Um, so yeah.
That's as like a history dork, I try not to judge people of the past because that's how they like. I mean, slavery was an awful institution, but I can only like judge them so much because that's what they were doing for hundreds of years. So you got to really go back to the root of it all and blame that. But I mean, like public executions, it's wonderful that they really don't do that anymore. I would imagine people would be traumatized to watch somebody else like I don't know. I don't know. I really couldn't imagine
Yeah,
that
well,
happening. You know,
no YouTube, no nothing, so say, "What are
right?
you doing tonight?" I mean, yeah, they brought his wife, his family out for the execution. Yeah, I mean, it was,
Ugh, it's
and
horrifying to watch your father be executed for a
yeah,
crowd that's cheering for it. It's just that's
yeah.
horrible, horrible. We are as a as a people. I'm glad we evolved from that. Um, so I gotta ask you one question before I get to my list here. So I first heard of Fort Mifflin probably when like the TV shows started coming on,
Right.
ghost shows and whatnot. And there was a TV show. I'm not gonna mention anybody by name. I'm not gonna mention any what I where I don't whatever. But I want to mention there was so I live in Rhode Island. There was a paranormal team here in Rhode Island that investigated. They got their own show and probably one of the bigger shows. And they went to Fort Mifflin. They did a live paranormal investigation, and there was like a collar pull that was caught on camera that
That was
allegedly
Fort
was.
Delaware. That was
Oh,
Fort
that was
Delaware.
Fort Delaware. Oh,
That
all right,
was
never
Fort
mind.
Delaware.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Yep.
Wrong fort. All right. Well,
Yep.
that's wonderful.
Now that didn't happen at Fort Mifflin.
That's good. Not that it really happened. It might have been a legend. I thought it was Mifflin, but
Right.
they've done live shows at Mifflin before. Is that
They
that's
did
kind of thing?
taping. They taped.
Oh, it
No
was
no
taped.
live no live. Fort Mifflin was the first hour episode of that show.
Oh wow.
Um, they used to do 2 episodes per hour.
Yeah, I
That Fort
remember
Mifflin.
that. That I
Yeah,
like
Fort
that
Mifflin
actually. That
was the
was
first hour. They came back twice, and so yeah, yeah.
don't get me wrong. I like all those guys. They're fellow Rhode Islanders, but yeah, it's just it kind of always stuck in my mind that like I wonder if it's TV networking
Um,
marketing. We want to
it,
sell tickets.
yeah. No, I
Yeah.
mean it's good. Eventually, I mean, you had the, I mean, the ghost hunters first, and
Yeah,
uh, and then everybody started getting involved, and
of course.
um, we did have, um, I mean, most these shows are, um, mostly all legit, but
Yeah.
we had one time somebody come down and yeah, and um, was doing some filming. It was supposed to be for a pilot, and the show was completely scripted,
Oh
um,
boy.
100%. So, thank goodness it didn't go anywhere. But after that, anytime any show would contact the fort, first thing we made sure was, is this scripted?
Yeah.
Is this legit? Portals to Hell came down, and I was there for every second of that filming. It was for 48 hours of filming for
Wow.
43 minutes of TV time. But
Yeah.
yeah, I was there for every second just to make sure everything's legit, everything's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Because you have to. I mean, it's just
I
mm,
can't say anything bad about like any really any paranormal investigators I've met or I've like seen
no,
on TV,
everybody's good.
honestly.
Uh,
But
uh,
there are people in this world that will use this field to exploit others, as they
Definitely.
will with anything that they can exploit others with, and it's unfortunate.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely. It's unfortunate. I mean, I've been down to the fort. I pretty much met everybody in the paranormal
mhm.
field. I've become friends with, and yeah, 99.9% are
Yep,
great,
awesome
legit.
people, awesome people.
You
Yep.
just have some people that, you know, uh, you
Just
know,
wanna make a dime for themselves.
yeah,
I
yeah,
get it, but I also got a job, and that's what I do with that job, and then I do this as my passion, my hobby, whatever, but, yeah, I couldn't as an investigator, people ask me all the time, "Do I charge?" I'm like, "No, I don't charge." I mean, Like you don't
Correct.
charge for like, oh yeah, I do a lot of research. I do a lot of field work beforehand, afterwards, on the house, the person, the land, on everything that I can. But I'm not gonna. I'm there to help this person. I'm not there to help
Correct.
myself.
Yeah, you
Right.
always got
So
to tell people stay away from anybody that wants to charge.
right. Let me put this
Jeez.
on YouTube and tell you I have a demon, and then make myself
Oh
get sick.
yeah,
Stupid
everything's a
shit like
demon,
that.
and
I
that
hate it too.
costs extra to come back and get it out.
Of course it does. Of course it does. So I want to switch gears a little bit here. So in in your bio, is you mentioned it, and if you Google it, you'll find it on any of the searches. But Fort Mifflin is considered one in any of the top 10, and I looked up 3 or 4 of them. It's probably in most of them. It is actually, it's been in all of them. It's ranked differently in each one,
Right.
but it's I grabbed the USA Today, the readers poll, and I'm going to go through the top 10 really quick of the most haunted places according to USA Today of all sources. Not to say it's a bad source, but it's
Right.
not really a paranormal source, of the top 10 haunted places in the U.S. So number 10 is the St. Augustine Lighthouse and Maritime Museum in St. Augustine, Florida. Paranormal activity reported at St. Augustine Lighthouse includes the disembodied voice of a woman asking for help. Dark of the Moon Ghost Tours takes visitors into the lighthouse at night to learn about the spirits that may haunt this 1876 Keeper's House and 1874 Lighthouse Tower. St. Augustine Lighthouse, Maritime and Museum. Any experiences there, Greg? Have you ever been to St. Augustine?
I've been to St. Augustine. I did the old jail and other places,
Nice.
but I never did the lighthouse.
Right. I think it was on.
Ghost
It was on
hunters.
actually on Ghost Hunters. Yeah, it was on Ghost Hunters. The second place I know is on Ghost Hunters. I want to say it was season 1. Uh, the Eastern State Penitentiary, which
Yes.
you've already mentioned, the Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, right up the road from Mifflin. Philadelphia's Eastern State Penitentiary was one of the most expensive prisons in the world. Today, the crumbling ruins host visitors of mortal and ghostly variety. Have you ever investigated Eastern State? Yeah,
Yes, I did. I spent quite a few nights there
really.
investigating. When they had paranormal. Unfortunately, they don't do the paranormal anymore.
That's too bad.
But yeah, that's a that's a great place. I mean that
What were your experiences
it's
on the?
it's the most shadow people I ever saw in your life.
Really?
I mean, it's laid out, like they got the middle rotunda,
Yep.
and then they got the cells going out, and
Yep.
so that in the middle, one guard could look down all the different cell blocks,
Yep.
but you could be in there and you'll see like figures popping out of cells
Oh wow.
just looking out. There was this one walking by, and they had the bunk beds, and they would have these. I mean, it was called a penitentiary. It was the first penitentiary because it was a Quaker, society, and it was in there for penance.
Oh right, right.
for your sins, and they would just have. They were there 23 hours in solitary, only an
Oh
hour,
yeah.
and these guys they were going nuts, and they had this one. Every cell just had this one little slit of opening for daylight, and this is one cell that um, you'd see somebody sit up and they block the light from coming out from the outside, and then they'd sit back down. So yeah, I had somebody whispering in my ears in the
Oh wow.
operating room and stuff. So yeah, that's a
Nice.
great place, and yeah, hopefully eventually they open it back up for investigations because that
Why did they close it down? Do you know?
they got a new board of directors in there,
Mm,
they concentrated on social injustice with the
right.
prisoners. So they don't want to
Nice.
do the paranormal. I mean, they used to have the biggest, scariest Halloween thing,
Oh, I
Terror
bet.
Behind the Walls. They stopped that. Now they still do their Halloween stuff, but it's not
Mhm,
called Terror Behind the Walls. It's more of they have different bands and
mm,
entertainment and different things. So It's not. It's geared to scare you as much as it would. But that's an awesome
That's too bad.
place.
Yeah, that's too bad. Number 8 on the list is Fort Mifflin
Yeah,
on
we came
on the
down at
Delaware.
8. Yeah, we
Uh,
were 4 last year. I mean, 2 years ago. Then
oh, yeah, yeah. It's the readers. They don't know what they're talking about. Anyway,
hell no.
Fort Mifflin on the Delaware, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Fort Mifflin, a national historic landmark, was the site of a major battle in the Revolutionary War where hundreds of soldiers on both sides lost their lives. Some believe those spirits never left and continue to haunt the battlefield to this day. Visitors can see for themselves by joining a candlelight ghost tour, paranormal investigation, or overnight stay. Tell us, Mark, a little bit about the what you guys what that's all about. Can you what do you guys offer there?
Yeah, well, we offer we have open investigation throughout the year, um, where we have different we rotate different paranormal groups to come in and help,
Right.
and people come in and can investigate. We also have private investigations where you can
Hmm.
do 6 hours or do an overnight investigation. We let people stay till like 8 a.m. We don't kick
Nice.
them out. Mostly
Right.
people are well gone before 8 a.m.
Yeah.
Um, and then yeah, in October we have a sleep with the ghost program for an overnight, and we have candlelight ghost tours during months of October where we have the just lantern and candles lit up throughout the fort, and a guide with the lantern will take
Oh,
groups around and we'll tell the stories, the different hauntings that happen throughout the fort.
yeah. That's pretty awesome. That's good. About how much on the private tour? About how much would that does that run?
The For overnight it's $1,000, and for the 6 hours it's 750. And like I say, everything goes right to the fort to maintain it.
Yeah, that's
We
awesome.
the fort was the longest active military fort, United States history. It was active through 1954 when it was deactivated,
Oh
and
wow.
then 1962 it was deeded to the city of Philadelphia. Unfortunately, we don't get any funding from the city,
Yeah, of
even though
course
we're
not.
under Parks and Recreations Department. The
Too
Fort
bad.
Mifflin on the Delaware is a nonprofit organization that runs the fort.
Yep.
The city just takes care of utilities. So any, the money that we raise goes to keep maintaining it, because it's coming, it was laid out in 1771, destroyed by the
Yes.
British in 1777,
Hmm.
and rebuilt back in the late 1790s. So you have all that, and you know, buildings that old and everything need a lot of maintenance, and
Of course.
so
Weathering and other wars, and
yep.
what they had like any aircraft installations there in World War II, and
Yeah, they put anti-aircraft batteries
yeah,
there in World War II. Yeah, because we're right downriver from the Navy Yard, the old Navy Yard, and
right,
yeah, it was there to protect Navy Yard, World War II anti-aircraft batteries, and it was a munitions depot also where they build the ships upriver, come down, they load them up with munitions, and off they would go. So
right,
the old casemates, the old bunkers, and everything, they were
yep.
loaded up with munitions.
I mean, and I believe I read also something like Casemate 11. They had it closed off for a time because it was like a submarine station of some kind in like the 1870s. Is that am I accurate with that?
It was Casemate 11 was originally we think the powder magazine from 1777, but
Oh wow.
um, when they built, the last structure built at the fort in the 1870s was the torpedo magazine, where
Yep.
they
That's what it was.
had a channel dug out to the Delaware River. We are right on the Delaware River, so
Yep.
they thought. They could, like these dumb, torpedoes, drop them down the well there, and they go out the channel and hit boats. But they realized after a while, I would imagine after they did a few test fires and that things turned
Mhm.
around and came back at the fort, they said,
Ugh.
"Oh, this isn't going to work very good." So they never used it as a to launch torpedoes. But when they built that Casemate 11 was right next to it, and they just filled it. And
Yeah.
it became filled for, I think it was like 15 years ago, that it was re-excavated,
Yep.
and it was like an Egyptian tomb. It was
Oh,
airtight.
I bet.
When they opened it up, the prisoners that were held there
Yeah.
had their names written on the walls, the potty chambers, broken
Wow.
bottles, eating
Wow.
utensils, everything was just found. And unfortunately, once it got opened up, the humidity got in and destroyed the signatures, but we have everything documented of that. And William Hell was actually thrown in there. He
Wow.
was part of he was blamed for leading the escape attempt out of casemates. So that
Wow.
he got thrown in casemate 11 for a while until he got
Yep.
taken over to Eastern State. So yeah, that's a great little place. So it's open up. You can go down there. It's very tight.
You guys get tunnels there too? Yeah.
Yeah, casemates. We got their tunnels. Yeah, they
Yep.
go. When it was rebuilt under Adams, they would have been for bomb shelters for the troops and all.
Oh,
And during the Civil War, that's where they housed the prisoners, Confederate Union prisoners and civilian prisoners. But yeah, they they go
mhm.
you're under, they're underground. I
You're
mean,
completely under the fort. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
It's
you
so
got all
it's
kinds of
so
earth
dark.
over you. So yeah,
Yeah, it's a little, but it's like incredible construction. I mean, Fort Adams, I imagine it's the same at Mifflin, but it's like that brick layered, and it's like incredible
oh yeah, the
craftsmanship. I couldn't
bricks and
imagine like
yeah.
building this thing in like the 1820s. It must have been incredibly terrifying. Number Speaking of terrifying, number 7 on the list is the Winchester Mystery House in San Jose, California. I've never been, but I know people who
Never
have.
been. Yeah.
This particular mansion in San Jose was more than 160 rooms and over 2,000 doors. Many of them cannot be walked through. Some believe that Mrs. Winchester continued modifying her home to escape the spirits of those killed by the Winchester rifle, which is probably hundreds of thousands. It was used in wars. It was used really efficiently to kill people in the Wild West. And I've heard of like staircases that go nowhere, and she was like heavily into the occult and what we call mediumship and spiritualism today, probably. I'm sure she was haunted. Her husband, he could have led to he definitely could have contributed to that. I don't know if that was the reason she was haunted or if she played too much with a Ouija board, but I've heard people told me about that place and how it's active. I've yet to get out on the West Coast myself. So
Yeah.
number 6 on the list is the Fort East. Hold on, let me show you the picture here. It's down in Florida. The Fort East Martello Museum in Key West, Florida. The Fort East Martello Museum in Key West protects and preserves the unfinished remains of a fort dating back to the Civil War. The fort has its fair share of ghost stories, but none are quite as famous or mysterious as Robert the Doll. I'm already sickened. I hate dolls. This handmade doll, made at the turn of the 20th century, perpetually causes electronic devices to malfunction, and staff members have reported creepy giggling in the museum and swear that its facial expressions have changed. Um, Greg, what's your first of all, have you been here, Greg? Have you
I
been to
haven't
this?
been there. I mean, I've seen shows about it, and
Yep.
seen what he looks like. You
Robert the
know,
Doll. I've seen pictures
Robert
of
the
Robert the
Doll.
Doll.
Yeah,
I've
supposedly, what is it? You can't take a picture of them, or you can't say something, and then something happens, and people write letters to apologize and send it to them.
yeah,
So there's some story about that. So
I've hated dolls since I was a child. Just their frozen, creepy smiles, their black eyes, and then you add the fact on that people can allegedly curse them, or they can be like attached or have attachments,
right,
or I've heard of there's a doll at the around here. It was in Mass. It's the Escape Pierce Victorian Mansion. It's very haunted. They have a doll upstairs. It's very awful to look at. I just
yeah,
hate dolls. But
yeah, and the Raggedy Ann Conjuring doll.
oh, the Conjuring, yeah, the Conjuring doll. It's But I don't know if it's still at that house in
No, it's at
Burrillville. But
the Warren Museum.
oh, good. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's a
behind glass.
Raggedy Ann doll, you know.
Yeah, right. It's yeah. That Raggedy Ann dolls, I guess, aren't terrible, but I've heard like awful things about that doll in particular. So
Yeah.
it's probably terrible. It's a doll, so it's just I'm just gonna put it under terrible to begin with. So the number 5 is well, this picture's not showing up. I don't know. It's the Wood Island Lighthouse in Biddleford, Maine. There it is. Um, it's actually the first time I've heard of it, and I frequent Maine. Many visitors or residents to Wood Island Lighthouse in Maine believe ghosts roam the island and inhabit the building. A murder-suicide, of course, took place there in 1896, and many have encountered a spirit at the top of the lighthouse, expressing remorse. Could it be the murderer? Others have heard voices in the wind or found objects inside the lighthouse unexpectedly rearranged, while one lighthouse keeper's wife swears that she bumped into a ghost in a closet. Thoughts? Greg, you ever been here? You ever heard of it? No? I've never even
No.
heard of it, dude. I go to Maine a lot. More the woods than the sea, but
Yep.
a ghost in the closet, a spirit like showing expressing remorse. That's Have you ever seen a ghost, Greg? Have you had that? Yeah, like
Oh yeah.
full
Full
bodied apparition,
bodies. Yeah, yeah. Full bodies.
like
Yeah.
straight on, looking straight on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some
My best is a full body Civil War soldier I saw, and in living color, and
Oh, nice.
he had his backpack and everything. Walked right by me, and
Was he blue or gray?
he was a blue.
Oh, good.
Yep.
Go Union. Um, nice. Yeah, no, it's did you get any like did they speak to you? Could you hear them? Did they
Nah, he probably was just residual, just walking, but
doing his
yeah,
thing,
he
huh?
outside the fort is our administration building. It's the old hospital building.
Oh,
So
wow.
he was walking towards that. So I don't know if he was going to check on somebody or
Mm,
whatnot, but yeah, he full living color. He had a
that's
red
awesome.
his insignia. He was a private. It was red V,
Oh,
and
wow.
we always have reenactments every year for Civil War when it was a military prison,
Yep.
and none of the union guys had any red. And I
Hmm.
asked, would any units in the Civil War Union have like a red V, a red, for insignia? And they said,
Right.
yeah, it would have been our artillery unit. And I go, oh, okay, that makes sense because
The
even though it was a
cannons.
military prison, the artillery was still manned there by, protect the Delaware in case any
Of
Confederates
course.
would try coming up the river. So it
Right.
made perfect sense.
No, that's really cool. That's you looked like a person. You just looked like another person, right?
Just like a regular person,
You
yeah.
couldn't see through him. No translucence. Just
No, he was
yeah,
solid. I mean, he was
yeah.
solid. I mean, I've seen translucents and stuff like that
Hmm.
before, but this guy was solid as can be, living color. I mean, like I say, the blue jacket, the red stripe.
Yeah.
His
That's
backpack
awesome.
was, I mean, it was just, his hat. I mean, everything just was amazing. And
I
of
said,
course, I'm
yep.
I'm standing there just staring at him, and I'm not getting a camera out, a phone to take a picture. I'm just like, wow,
Right.
just was amazed to see him walking, and it was just so cool.
Yeah. If you had that kind of time, you honestly, I've seen a spirit, an entity in my plain vision, like right in front of me in the moment, probably like 4 or 5 times, and none of those times I was investigating. So none of those times I had a camera ready. None of those times I was had any recording my phone. I was just
Yeah,
like glanced up and it was there, and then I glanced up and it was gone. Another
yeah,
time I came, we talked about the murder suicide in the last case. I was in a swimming pool at a friend's house in North Carolina. I knew nothing about the history of the house. I knew about nothing about this woman. It was my wife's friend, and we were going downstairs. She had like she was her neighbor when she lived in North Carolina, and I come out of the water. And I remember feeling like this overwhelming feeling, like this is weird, like a tingling in my back, tingling in my chest, like that not that feeling that I get when I'm in a haunted
mhm,
location. That like that feeling,
right.
And I turn around and I remember seeing this woman standing right there at the edge of the pool, and she had like I talk about doll eyes being like she had like the dark black
Mm,
eyes, and she was so angry, and she just wanted me to get out of it. She didn't know why the pool was there. She didn't know why we were there. Come to find out that the woman that my wife was friends with, she married this guy. He was like 20 years or younger, and she met him years before that, and they kind of like shacked up and whatnot. He was always at her house, and come to find out, the sheriff showed up one day, and they took him in for questioning. He got released, but his mother murdered his father, and then took her own life, and right in like
Wow.
the bedroom, right in front of the pool. And when I went into the garage, she sent me to the garage to get another. She had a fridge full of beers for me, which is wonderful. I went to go get a Nada or Noda. I don't know how they pronounce it in North Carolina. It's a beautiful IPA series. And I opened the fridge. I grabbed the beer out of the fridge. I closed the fridge. I'm looking at like they have all this like they have the giant Confederate flag in the garage. They have the "Don't Tread on Me," and I just kind of appreciate it as I glance her over. There's a picture on the wall of this guy's parents and that woman. I'm like, holy shit, that's the woman I just saw. And I called my wife, and my wife came in, and she's like, that's her, those black eyes. It's crazy how they appear to you sometimes.
Yeah.
They just want you to know something. It's just
Yeah.
that was the most like, for me, that was the most um real paranormal experience I've ever had. And I
Yeah.
wasn't, like I said, I was in a swimming pool. I didn't have a camera on me. I was not
But that,
expecting
but that's I learned
dangerous.
that when I walk around the fort, I have my
Oh yeah, yeah.
phone on camera right now all
Man,
the
yeah,
time. You know,
absolutely,
you
absolutely.
you don't want to miss another one.
Right, exactly. You take note of the one you missed. Number four, coming in at number four. I've never been to Texas, so and I honestly, this is the first time I've ever heard of this one. The Grove in Jefferson, Texas. This historic property, excuse me, in the riverport city of Jefferson, Texas, was built in 1861, and it is listed on the National Register of Historic Places. Ghost Stories at the House, now a privately owned residence, open for tours. Dates back more than a century. Common sightings include a lady in a white dress, and a man walking through the lily beds in the garden. Inconsiderate. And an entity in the den. That's a lovely porch, by the way. Any you ever heard of this place, Greg?
No, no.
No. Why? My question to you: why is the woman always seen in a white dress? The woman I saw wasn't in
It,
a white dress, but why is she always in a white
I
dress?
don't know. We have a woman in blue.
Do you?
Yeah,
Where does she show up?
she just shows up all over the place.
Hmm.
And yeah, she's blue dress, brown hair.
What do you think? Is she a nurse? Is she?
I think she's a nurse.
Yeah, that makes sense. Union Blue.
Yep.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. This next place, I'm willing to bet you've heard of. If you haven't been there, making it at number three. One of the juggernauts, the Trans Allegheny Lunatic Asylum in
Yeah.
western West Virginia. Perpetually one of the West Virginia's most haunted sites, the Trans Allegheny Lunatic Asylum opened its doors in 1864, long before they knew what mental illness was. By the 1950s, the facility was operating well over capacity with inhumane conditions. Visitors can spend the night in this beautiful asylum during free ghost hunts open to the public. You've been, Greg. I take it.
I haven't been down there. That's on my list.
Oh yeah,
I
it's definitely
I've
on my
done,
list.
Penhurst up my
Oh yeah,
way.
Penhurst is that Philly or is that whereabouts is that?
Yeah, outside Philly. It's in towards Phoenixville,
Nice.
Pennsylvania, Spring City. Um, yeah, that's
Yeah, it's
that's
on
a
the.
that's a nut. That place is nuts.
Yeah, I believe it. I believe it. I worked in a mental house. I worked in two community psychiatric hospitals, and I worked in a state forensic facility in Massachusetts, and it's no joke. It's it's still like not great conditions and not well people and just
Yeah,
yeah, not well people make not well decisions and yeah, it's dangerous. So I imagine they make not well ghosts too, and it's I've heard nothing but good things about all these places. So the next on our list, number two. Oh, that's Trans Allegheny. Number two is the Waverly Hills Sanitarium in Louisville, Kentucky, considered one of the most haunted locations on the planet. This closed sanitarium outside of Louis. Oh, it's closed outside of Louisville. Is believed to be haunted by the ghosts of former patients treated for tuberculosis during the early 20th century. Waverly Hills. Have you been there?
I haven't. I want to get down to that and do a bourbon tour.
Oh, hell yeah. Oh my God. You like bourbon too.
Oh, hell yeah.
Fantastic. Fantastic. More stuff to talk about. Okay. And top of the list for the most haunted places, as USA Today reports, is the Zach Baggins House, the Haunted Museum in Las Vegas, Nevada. That's quirky Las Vegas museum showcases original collectibles from supposedly haunted destinations around the United States in a 1938 property that itself is believed to be haunted. Explore more than 30 rooms filled with artifacts and keep an eye out for spirits roaming in the halls. Have you been there,
I
Greg?
haven't. My daughter lives in Las Vegas.
Oh,
I
nice.
haven't made it out there yet. So
Yep. So, what are your? It seems like they have a lot of allegedly haunted items. What are your thoughts on haunted artifacts, on haunted items? Do you believe that they can attach spirit can attach themselves to these artifacts?
I do.
Yep.
That things get the attachment with items.
Yep.
Um, I mean, there's with a lot of residual energy.
Hmm.
Yeah. Um, you know, uh, the I just don't know. With all that in that museum, they come in number one every year.
Yeah. Yeah. I bet 100%. That's he just found it and he bought it and now he just stuffs it with awful and atrocious items that are allegedly haunted or just like awesome to look at and he just opens it as a museum and he lives there at the same time.
I don't know if he lives there. He lives in Vegas, but
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, he's there quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
He shows up.
As an investigator, I have the museum that I talked about earlier in the show that I volunteer at. I have a key to the facility. I can go in. I could probably investigate there anytime I want it with permission. It's a lovely organization, and they only allow my paranormal group in because they don't want to make it more
Right.
all about the paranormal. They want to make it about history, which I get it, and I want to spread the word for them as much as possible. But just like any chance that I get to go in there and investigate in the smallest of the biggest capacity. It's great to have that as not like a research lab as an investigator, but kind of like a research lab as an
Hmm.
investigator. You can try different stuff. You can have success in some areas and not in the same areas on different times. Do you have the same experiences at Mifflin? Do you try a lot of different things there, or different tactics, different
Oh yeah,
areas?
because
Yeah.
yeah, same thing. I mean, I've been there so many times all by myself and stuff. If a group leaves early, I'm hanging out. I mean, my thing is, I just like to go sit at a spot and just see what comes around. I won't. I don't even. I won't even have any equipment or anything. Just sit. I
Sitting
mean, that's my
quietly.
full thing. I just want some. I want to come in, sit down, and have a face to face talk. That's what I've been working on. Um,
Nice.
yeah.
That'd be one hell of a feat, dude. If you could pull that off, just sit there
I
and a spirit just
yeah.
walk up and start chatting with you. That's
That would be
one in a million.
that's
One
my
of it
goal. I
in a
mean, I've
million.
gotten footsteps, I've gotten
Hmm.
all kinds of different things. It's just I need, I've had things dart around, but I
Hmm.
just, sit down, let's have a talk,
Hmm.
So that's my goal. I've been working on that.
I think that's all of our goals to actually
Yeah.
have that, and yeah, and to have it all documented and on film, and even then though, people are gonna be like, "Nah, man, that's fake
Yeah,
AI.
I
You
know.
rigged it now," and oh
Right.
god, kind of kills it for everybody with this
Yeah,
AI shit. I don't know.
unfortunately. Yeah.
Yeah. So you mentioned whiskey. You mentioned bourbon. You have a favorite bourbon? Do you have a favorite variety, a favorite
Uh,
brand?
um, it goes, it switches,
Yeah.
so, um, I mean, it was there for a while. Yeah, well, um, I don't have really one favorite right now. I've just
Hmm.
been doing trying. My son, he got into bourbon big time too. So, Um, but nothing really right now.
Yeah,
You know, I've been trying to wean off the bourbon and just enjoy the
it's
beer.
yeah, it's not terrific for you. We can talk about beer. I can
Wood
talk about beer until
Woodford,
I'm blue in the face. It's
yeah.
fine.
I mean,
So
Woodford's is,
yeah,
right now.
yeah, it's good. I've not graduated, but like moved on to Scotch in my older years. I try not to have a lot of it a year because I like get one good bottle a year and go take it on the camping trip with the boys.
Right.
Even then I gotta limit myself because I'm not 22 years old anymore.
That's
While
the truth. Yep.
I taste it, I can smell everything, and it's beautiful and the beautiful craft. I appreciate it a whole lot more now that I'm older. My palate's more developed. I'm not a cigarette smoker anymore, so I have a better sense of smell, much better taste these days than I did say like 15, 20 years ago. But I don't need to like drown myself in a bottle of scotch
Yeah.
to enjoy it because then
Nah,
you get
just a
drunk
nice little sip.
and feel like shit afterwards, and it's just not a good feeling. But beer, dude, somebody some good friends approached me. I was telling you before the show, probably it was about maybe 7 or 8 months ago. It's like, buddy, you ever want to do like a beer podcast? I'm like, you had me at beer, dude. I'm like, I've been I did a paranormal podcast before this with another guy for a while, and my before I agreed to start doing it, I'm like, only if I can like talk about like good beer, I'll call it my beer of the week. And talk about this good beer for the first 5 minutes of every show. It has nothing to do with the paranormal. It's just my platform that I have to talk about this beer with people for 5 quick minutes every week, and it'd be a different beer every week. And then it turned into like I was drinking that one beer on the show, and then I would drink more beers on the show, and it just got out of control. But when they mentioned doing a separate gig, I'm like, well, that makes more sense to have my own beer thing, and then keep the paranormal and the beer as separate as possible because I don't like to do that when I
Right.
go out, ghost hunting or whatever. Um, so we started doing this pre-recorded thing. I was talking to you earlier about at breweries, just going there and chatting with the brewer and like what people don't realize. People would think of beer, they're like, oh, I hate beer, it's gross. Like because you're thinking of like your Bud Heavies, or you're thinking about like Corona, which is absolutely disgusting. I'm sorry if you like Corona, or you're thinking about like those nasty yellow beers that like have been around since the beginning of time, and
Mm-hmm.
they've all had the same nasty, shitty taste, and they're all the same watered down.
Yep.
Like they make a million of them in a day. That's not the kind of beer I'm talking about. I'm talking about the kind of beer that make maybe like 30, 40 cases of it, maybe a little bit more, enough to bottle a little bit, enough to sell the draft in the brewery. We made a beer, so we went and did a collab with a new brewery here in the road. They're it was called Line Cider Brewing. Line Cider's assistant brewer bought the brewery when the original guy Jeremy sold it. He created Crafted Hope Brewing. It's right there on not Main Street. It's in Route 2 in East Greenwich. Anyway, we did a beer with them. It was a porter, so it was a Snickers porter. Essentially, they called it Three Dudes in a Brew, which was fantastic. You slap our name on it, and they sold out of that probably a couple months ago now. But they've been around for oh god, they opened right at Black Friday. They opened and they sold out of the beer probably a little over like maybe middle of January. So maybe it lasted 6 weeks on tap. It was absolutely delicious. But they have like so many styles on
Right.
draft at these places, right? It's a lot of them that I'm going to now. It's like once there's like 12 or 14. A lot of them have seltzers. So people are like, oh, I don't drink beer. My husband likes beer. Well, go with your husband, and he can have an IPA, and you can have a seltzer. You can have a cider, which ironically is at a lot of breweries, or you can have like something else or a sour ale, which is not at all like any kind of beer you've ever had. It's more fruity, or a wheat beer. It's so many options
Oh
for
yeah.
people to get into. What's your
Yeah.
favorite style? What do you like the best, Greg?
Right now it's stout, but
It is
I
season.
like a
Yeah.
good Czech Pilsner.
Czech pills. All right, you're not the first person I've heard. A lot of these brewers, will go into another brewery, and that's the first thing that they buy is the Czech Pilsner. Because why is it? Why? What's
It's
your
just
thoughts on it?
very flavorful.
Yeah.
It just, I mean, I always like tell people when they first get with any kind of craft beer, first sip. people, that's when they get taste awful because they're not used to the flavor. You
Right.
got to take like 3, 4 sips, and once your taste buds get acclimated, man, then it
Right.
goes down really good. But I mean, IPA, double IPAs, West Coast IPAs, New England IPAs.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not a real IPAer, so
Hmm.
I mean the pilsners. I love the good pilsner and
Hmm.
and the stouts. I
Hmm.
mean, there's some good IPAs out there, but
There's a lot of IPA. There's a
yeah,
lot of
there's a
IPAs.
lot of good IPAs out there. But
A
yeah,
lot of people make
I'm a
IPAs.
more of
There's
a
not a lot. There's a lot of not good IPAs out there too,
yeah.
because everybody makes them. But I mean, go
Oh
ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah. I mean, they try. There's people with the jalapeno, the hot high.
Yeah.
And you name it, they're making. And it's
Hmm.
just like, there's um where the Fire and Ice
Yeah.
IPAs or and
Before this brewery line before Lion Cider sold to Crafted Hope, I was gonna do like a more paranormally type, like an Octobery beer with them, with Jeremy, and with Kyle Tasso and the Crafted Hope now, and they had a Carolina Common hot pepper. Well,
uh-huh.
they Carolina Reaper,
Carolina, yeah,
and they made a Carolina Common out of it, and it was like a pale ale with like holy shit hot spice in the back of it. Holy shit, I could
yeah,
not have like
yeah, the
a
Carolina
full beer.
Reaper, man. That's
Oh,
yeah,
it's just next level. I'm not into that kind of spice myself. I can't really go beyond the buffalo sauce without having acid reflux issues. So I'm not really a big into that. But oh my god, it was so potent and strong. But I mean, even if you're not into stuff like that, there's so many different varieties and flavors that, like I said, the stouts. We are in stout season now. There are various different kinds of stouts. There are dessert stouts that are like imperials, like that are next level APVs. Like,
oh yeah, chocolate with the chocolate stouts
yeah,
and
the oatmeal
and
cookies or the
yeah.
coffee. Yep.
hmm
What's your favorite stout? Do you have one favorite stout?
I just like a good classic stout,
Yep.
the
Like a
my
Guinness?
yeah, like a Guinness, I mean
Yeah. It's a little bit more
the
traditional.
the craft by me, they have the Russian Imperial, but
Ooh,
they call it a Baby Bop. That's more Guinnessy, and that's my
Guinnessy.
favorite. And it is also black and tan, or porter, or
Oh yeah,
so
that's
I like
fantastic.
those.
Yeah, for sure.
Because
No,
this type of weather, cold out, we're going to single digits. I know you got to be cold up there too.
oh, dude, the wind chills I think it was like 16 when I left for work this morning at 6 a.m. Actually, I left at like 5:30 to go to the gym and then went to work afterwards. It's like 16, but the wind chill,
Oh yeah,
it's
the
like
wind
it
went through
pushes
here
it like,
yesterday.
oh
Oof.
my god, it's horrifying. It's horrible
Yeah,
up here.
I was picking up sticks today.
We had a snowstorm last week that turned into rain. It was Sunday. It started Sunday. It started Sunday early morning, like Saturday night. I drove home and it was horrible. And it was only like 4 inches. It wasn't a ton of snow. It was just like that. Not. It was very slippery snow to drive in.
hmm
I had to drive very slow. It took me like an hour to get somewhere. It normally takes me 20 minutes. So then I went to work the next day, and then got out of work, and everything's wet because it turned to rain, and it rained and it soaked up all the snow, and then it all froze because it all went. Oh my god!
Yep.
So it's like a winter not wonderland up here in New England. It's just ugly and awful, and I am really looking forward to spring.
Yeah,
The
big
the
time.
nights are getting a little bit longer. The sun doesn't go down at like it's like 4:15. Like a couple months ago, I hate it. I'm a summer kid.
Yep.
Um, we have a really short summer here in Rhode Island. It's only like ocean times. You can only really go in the water from like June to August. After that, we went in on January 1st. The other podcast, we raised money for the Hasbro Children's Hospital, and to you know to to seal the deal, we dove into the Atlantic Ocean on January 1st. And let me tell you, it was pretty cold.
Yeah, polar
The
bear
water
plunge. Yeah.
the water temperature was a balmy 44. I couldn't feel my legs from my knees down for about 2 hours afterwards. All I said, I'm gonna run in, I'm gonna get wet, I'm gonna get my head wet, I'm gonna get my whole, I'm gonna go in the water, and that's all I have to. Yep, that's all you have to do. But all right, I went in. It took me about 10 minutes. I waited for a good wave. I went right under the wave. Like, that's it. I'm done. I got out and I dried off, and I went to work a few hours later. But oh my god, it was horrible. It was like I need a charity that I could do where I could sit in a nice, cool bar, warm bar, and sip beer. And then this Mark Ambrose bingo thing pops up, and I'm like, I got to do this. I got to. And it's we're selling some good tickets. So folks, if you just want to donate, you can feel free to donate. If you're not going to be at the breweries, that's fine. I'll drink the beers. You just donate, whatever. Or you can buy bingo tickets and come up to here to Rhode Island and or Massachusetts and check out the Mark Ambrose bingo. Greg, is there anything you'd like? I gotta wrap up. My dog's going nuts down the hallway. Is there anything you'd like to say to wrap up for tonight?
No, I just want to thank you. And yeah, I see the website down there, fortmifflin.us. If you're in the area, make sure you stop over. Webpage is slowly getting updated as we speak, and we have some good events coming up.
You do tours year round?
We do our tours. Yeah, we have tours, regular tours. We have reenactments. We have all
Nice.
kinds of living history going on at the fort, educational programs, good scouting programs, and of course our
Nice.
paranormal programs. So if you come down, if you fly into Philadelphia Airport, we're only about 10 minutes away from the airport. So if you got any time between flights, you can stop over, hang out, say hi, and wait for your flight. So,
That's
we'd love to
pretty
have you
awesome.
down there. And like I say, everything goes, keep the fort up and going.
Yep. Yeah, that's awesome. I did a charity organization, charity event like that where I had ghost teams come into the old East Greenwich jail in East Greenwich, Rhode Island. It was the old it was the East Greenwich Historical Society. They owned the old Kent County Jail, which had been there from like the 1790s. So just like everything we did went back into the history, went back into the house, which was
Yep.
absolutely it's what not what you should do, but I mean yeah, it's what you should just give back to charity 110% with the paranormal if you can. And that's great that it runs all year long. I'm going to be in Gettysburg the last weekend of July for the Gettysburg Battlefield
Ash.
Bash.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll see you there.
Oh, awesome, dude. That'd be awesome. You're going to be there? That's
I'll be
fantastic.
there. I'm there every
I
year. Yeah.
I'm on the wire whether I'm going to get a table or not, but I'm definitely going to go and just chat with everybody and
Yeah. It's a great time. Come down
see,
and hang out. Yeah. It's a great group of people that's
for
there
sure,
every year.
for
So yeah,
sure.
it'd be good to see you.
They do a great charity. My friend Russ Stiver shaved all his head off,
Yeah,
shaved his head.
last year. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah. Oh, that
that
was
was great for charity. Yeah,
he
it was
shaved
great.
his hair and then he had the wax. He got waxed.
Yeah, he waxed his legs. That was
Oh,
great. He's like, "Buddy, shave your beard." I'm like, "No, but I'll throw money at you all day, dude." So that's wonderful. Oh, it's good though. It's a good time. It's a good charity. It's a good event. It's a good town. I love Gettysburg. I go there once a year if I can. Just tremendous organization. So, everybody, if you're tune in next Tuesday, the Ghost and the Goat. I hope to be back for a little bit longer. Hopefully, Bamps can join us as we welcome Todd Bates, going paranormal once again. I do have a UFO guy coming up next month who's gonna tell you things that you have never heard, government stuff, a lot of research stuff, a lot of he's a legit guest. He's a legit guy. He's not a legit guy, but he's a buddy guy. So you tune in for all the great stuff here on the Ghost and the Goat as we welcome one guest after another week to week, every Tuesday, every other Thursday. Check me out. Three Dudes Brews live. Not the last call, and then you can crack open the first edition of Three Dudes Brews at Angle Tree Brewing on March the 1st with Mark Ambrose Bingo. So for Greg O'Brien, this has been me, Buddy Thayer, the Ghost and the Goat. Let's go Red Sox. Let's freaking do this. The hell with the Yankees.